Hello and welcome to this week's Cloud panel. Today I am joined by a panel of experts who are here to discuss the latest developments in cloud technology. This is ahead of the Digital Transformation EXPO. Hello gentlemen, how are we today?
All
Very
good.
good, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us here. So what I'm going to ask you all is just to introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about what you do and what company you work for. Okay, so I'm going to start with you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. So Steve Blow, I'm a technology evangelist at Zerto. And what Zerto does is we're all about delivering an IT resilience platform. So it's a single platform that converges disaster recovery, backup and mobility, essentially simplifying what traditionally has been very complex industries, as well as giving you that platform across multiple different cloud platforms. So we give you that full mobility to move between, to and from, those platforms.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, for having me here today.
No problem
My
at all.
name is Aldrich. I am a Director of Client Services for Navisite. Navisite is a global managed service provider. We specialize in hybrid cloud and multi-cloud solutions, leveraging on-prem as well as our co-location to deliver a complete service to our clients.
Fabulous. Last but not least.
So I'm Richard Czech, Sales Director for EMEA for Wasabi Technology. So Wasabi Technology, it's a company, a US company that now it's deploying in Europe, having and providing disruptive technology in terms of cloud storage. So we are having an object storage solution today that is roughly 5 times less expensive and 6 times faster than most of the players in the market.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So let's get down to it. What do you think have been the biggest developments in cloud technology so far?
So I think, there's been quite a few. I think cloud storage is one that we're seeing grow increasingly. People are starting to trust cloud a bit more for things like backup storage, disaster recovery, things like that. We're also seeing IoT, so Internet of Things has been huge. Everyone's got smart doorbells, smart thermostats these days, and the key thing is behind all of those, they're powered by the cloud. So those are a couple of the things I guess that I've seen, as well as people adopting sort of multi-cloud strategies as well, where they're recognizing maybe not every cloud is suitable for all of their workloads.
Would you gentlemen agree?
I absolutely agree that cloud is clearly coming into its own. It is enabling organizations to actually not think about cloud, but about their value and their business proposition. So we look at multi-cloud, hybrid cloud strategies, and the ease to get into the cloud today, I think, is one of the biggest advantages that's come in the last year or two.
Yes, I agree. I think cloud is now really having a definition on the market. I mean, a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, cloud was a little bit cloudy in terms of definition. So now people are adopting the cloud as part of their IT infrastructure most of the time. And the fact that you can access data from anywhere, anytime, from any device has also changed the perception of what you can do with the cloud. So there are a lot of good things coming from the cloud adoption in the market, I think.
So what do you reckon the next big trends are going to be? What are we going to see in the near future?
I think the next trends, near term and potentially long term, is really kind of this transparency to cloud adoption. We don't talk so much about traditional data centers anymore. We talk about compute, we talk about processing, we talk about business value. Cloud has been kind of the catchphrase that we've seen in the markets over the last 2 to 3 years. Now it will become much more of a value proposition to our clients, to businesses around the world. And because of what we've said so far today, I think that's where we're going to be driving our workloads into whatever the hybrid or multi-cloud strategies will be.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at digital transformation across businesses today, there's already been a lot of change. We get our car tax online now. It's all virtualized from that perspective. You're going to see things change, in healthcare as well. So things like, being able to have a doctor's appointment online without having to go to your doctors. As I said, Internet of Things, there's going to be a huge amount there. I guess the key thing is with all of those is just ensuring that whatever platform you're adopting, you've still got that mobility to ensure that your workloads are placed efficiently. But yeah, I mean those are the key things that I'm seeing as things that are going to be essentially continuing what we've already seen with the uptake of cloud.
Yes, I agree, and I would say that one of the next big trend that we see as Wasabi is that we see an adoption of multi-cloud approach. And let's say the market has been educated. We are talking about the cloud, and we should talk about multiple clouds now and dedicated clouds. So we will have clouds for doing specific tasks or performing specific or using specific applications. And even in the storage space, we see multiple flavors of cloud providing different SLAs for customers. So more and more people are getting educated on what you can obtain from the cloud, so they know the benefits, they know the constraints, and that's why we're seeing on the market multiple clouds appearing on, competing with the largest one.
So where has cloud become the norm within businesses, do you think?
I think, like I said, backup storage is one of the key things. It's an easy way of putting your foot in there, in the water, I guess, for adopting cloud. DR as a service and DR into the cloud is another one. You're not moving your production workloads into there, but you are saving a lot of costs by adopting the cloud and the benefits the cloud has from an OpEx perspective and things like that.
Do you think those have had some of the biggest impacts so far?
I think they've had the biggest impact in enabling organisations to essentially increase their cloud adoption. So it's often a first step for a lot of organisations out there because it's relatively straightforward and you get pretty instant results from a cost perspective and things like that. So that's one of the things that I've seen as real benefits. But then you could look at, various different industries where you've seen improvements. Like I said, you've now got access to information instantly that previously was paper process and things like that. And that's obviously made a big difference in people's lives and organisations and how businesses are managed.
What do you gentlemen think?
Yes, I would say that we can talk about the benefits of the technology, of course, but there are also some business impact. We are working today in a world where, especially in Europe, people are getting from their partners, customers are getting from their partners some advice and products. That was the case in the past. Nowadays, partners, they have to transform themselves into service providers. So they are using the cloud, and it's a big transformation for them. So the fact that they have to offer what the customer is expecting from them is forcing them to change their business model. So either they are transforming themselves or they are moving completely their business from the traditional partner business to a CSP approach for their customers. I think this has impacted a lot the market. It's not necessarily something that we think about first, for sure, because we believe that, yes, clearly the car manufacturing industry, there are many industries that will be impacted by the use of the cloud. But in the middle, you have partners that are dealing with these markets, each vertical, that also have to change the way they are working with people. So it's a fundamental change in the way we are satisfying a customer expectation and the way a vendor like us is fulfilling this customer expectation. We are changing a little bit the mentality too.
Do you think there are any applications that will never be cloud ready?
I think that's a very almost taboo word nowadays, is never. I think there are applications today currently that don't fit the cloud for one reason or another because of the entanglement with the complex on-prem systems, database monolithic implementations that just are very complex and complicated to try and unpick to deliver on cloud platforms. But I feel these systems that are outdated, these applications, will become a thing of the past as they themselves change and adopt to more of a cloud-ready, cloud-enabled product.
Yeah, I think the business opinion of cloud is changing. It's much more mainstream now. big considerations are obviously security and things like that, compliance, and that's, I guess, one of the challenges and why some things don't move it to the cloud as well. And you've also got, you know, large financial organisations who are still running on mainframes and stuff, and they're not feasible to be moved to the cloud yet. And really, at some point, there will have to be a change there with regards to architecture and things. But right now, that's one of the big things we see. Obviously, those need to remain in-house or a physical somewhere.
Okay. So private cloud, when does that make sense?
I was going to say, for me, I have a kind of a knee-jerk reaction on private cloud, and that is all about the CIO who does not want to give up control. Obviously, it's much more complex than that. There are, you know, performance issues that may require private cloud optimization. There is the control issue. We look at, you know, various privacy and data regulations, especially in the GDPR world. How we can control that data in potentially a public cloud right now is a bit of a challenge, if not impossible. I think that will transition over time in near future to where private cloud may become a thing of the past.
Yes, there is a sort of, let's say, migration path where customers are moving their infrastructure from their on-premises infrastructure to something that they don't know or they are afraid of. So I would say the associating cloud and private sometimes is a way to explain to the customer they can make the migration, but they are staying in their premises. And this is a sort of virtualization of the physical premises. Usually they feel secured by using this private cloud. I think it's a sort of illusion because there is no real definition of private cloud. If you are starting to move your data out of your premises, then you are opening clearly your infrastructure to another stage in terms of development. So I would say that this is a buzzword that has been used by the market to help customers to realize that they have to go to the cloud. They have to make the changes to stay competitive because their competitors and customer competitors, maybe they will leverage the cost benefits, the performance benefits that they cannot afford by themselves. So there is a sort of, let's say, transition phase, and I agreed on the statement that maybe in a few years from now, we'll not use this private cloud terminology. That's my thinking.
Yeah, I think regulation, waiting for that to catch up, I think that's a big thing. And obviously, on the flip side, you know, cloud providers making sure that they're able to meet the required regulation. Once that happens, you probably are going to see a reduction in the use of private cloud.
So we've spoken about benefits and developments and potential challenges in the industry. Other issues that have come up, like cloud lock, for example, is that still an issue, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, there's a lot of cloud providers out there. You obviously know the big ones, and largely the big ones have their own tools to get customers onboarded into their platforms, because it's absolutely in their interest to do that. Those tools often aren't the greatest at getting you back out of those platforms. So making sure you've got that mobility, particularly with the increased use across organizations of multi-cloud and hybrid cloud strategies. And we see that still today because not every cloud fits every use case. So having the capability to move your workloads around where they fit best is really essential to getting the most out of that multi-cloud hybrid cloud strategy. And really, in order to deliver that, you need to have a third-party tool that is agnostic to the platforms you're choosing to utilize.
Fantastic.
So I think what we've seen in the industry is there are mobility amongst cloud providers now. It is still a challenge to potentially go from one to the other, but it isn't what I would consider a traditional cloud lock. Once you're in, it's so difficult to move out, you just can't. We see even a bit of reverse going back to on-prem, which is a bit shocking in today's day and age. But I think what really precipitated those types of transitions was the lack of a true cloud strategy going into it and jumping on the buzzwords of the private clouds or cloud in general.
I would add that one of the challenge of the cloud providers is to provide what the customers are willing to do with the applications. That was the first use of the cloud. But it's interesting to see, and it's our experience, that the big cloud providers, they are intent to keep your data. So ultimately, an application will run a lot of data or will generate a lot of data, and I would see more a data or a cloud lock effect on the data. So if they are keeping your data, they realize too late that to get back the data, it will be cost prohibitive. So they are not really, they are staying open in a way they can switch from one application to another. That's the compute part of the cloud market. But there is an area today where we are talking about real lock effect is on the data. So if you are storing petabyte of data in the cloud, if you realize too late that you have to get it back for another cloud provider or to do something else, then it's becoming too expensive to execute. So you are not really locked, but you are not doing it. So it's a sort of a lock effect on the pricing, on the networking side. And there are some, let's say for now, still some transformations that we expect from the market. And that's what we are trying to do at least. It's to see that, for example, data should be seen as a commodity, something sold like electricity, really something that you can use and change. And we've seen these similar situations in the telco market where people were keeping the data transfer for themselves. And you are preventing the competition to come from your market. And this is the problem.
So moving on, do you think there are any sectors or types of organization who are lagging or are resisting cloud adoption, and why?
I think if we look at traditional institutions where we talk about financial markets, any type of healthcare market, there is definitely a resistance to want to jump into that cloud pool. They might be doing a bit of DR, they might be doing a bit of test and dev type work.
What are the sort of reasons you've come across personally?
I think it's an education around how security in the cloud has come tremendously forward, even in the last 6 to 12 months. So it's an education and a misunderstanding of what cloud means when it comes to protected data.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So there's an assumption that they can't meet their requirements from compliance, etc., in the cloud, and maybe that's not always true, and that's just like you said, an education. But I think there's also, you've got the large cloud platforms now where there's a lot of that where you need to deliver the security aspects yourselves. But then you've got a lot of cloud providers out there today who provide a managed service and really, can alleviate a lot of the fears that people have in those sectors.
Okay. Yes, sorry, Richard.
No, I just wanted to add that we have seen this a big resistance in the public sector. People are afraid by data leaks, and they are afraid to lose the control of their data. They are mystifying these data leaks issues and what could be the impact for themselves as a mayor of a city or president of an organization. So all the public sector is extremely regulated, and they don't want to change. They want to control the data. Whatever the reasons, it's often a political reason. They just don't want to expose their data to any data leaks. And that's one of the point of resistance we are seeing in many countries.
Okay. We have, in fact, ran out of time. Is there anything that you think is prevalent that you should feel you need to mention about the cloud that we haven't really covered today?
I think one of the advantages that we're seeing and will have tremendous potential in the future is just the amalgamation of data and the use of potential AI to mine and utilize that data for value to organizations. We have not had the potential for compute or storage when it is the on-prem environment. Now that we're getting into the cloud, I think it opens up a world of value and possibilities to organizations. So.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us here. I really appreciate you coming to speak with us. I've definitely learned a little bit more about the cloud. So that is all from us for now. However, you can see more from these guys at the Digital Transformation Expo. Thank you. Goodbye.